Welcome, welcome. This is Gabe Hernandez, your publisher in the EIC for ComicalOpinions.com. It is Monday, January 22nd, 2024. Thank you for joining. Today's op-ed, I'm going to jump right into it, is talking about the recent Eisner Committee announcement that they're consolidating the comics journalism category. Not getting rid of it, but they're consolidating it. And why I think that's necessary, it's not a great thing, but there's also some good reason behind it that I think is right and correct, and the sort of the rationale behind that. But before we jump in, please, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, share, comment, subscribe, share it. Let us know how we're doing. Leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. If you're listening to this on your audio podcast of choice, also please leave a rating, leave a comment, let us know how we're doing, and we'll be happy to take your feedback into account. And by you sharing it, it helps us grow and do more for you. So what's going on with the Eisners specifically? What they're doing is they're taking the category of comics journalism, and they're not jettisoning it. What they're doing is they're taking comics journalism and they're rolling it into an existing category called comic-related books. The problem there is comic-related books really means a lot of things. It means biographies about creators like Jack Kirby. It means autobiographies by creators who have written books about themselves. It means things like, how-to books on how to draw and how to write and how to do all the things that you can imagine related to comics, or historical books about the comics industry. And comics journalism sort of gets lumped into that. What that really means is, in practicality, comics journalism is just not going to get any more acknowledgement, because there's no way you can put a site up like Adventures in Poor Taste and put that up against an autobiography of the life of Stan Lee, and they're going to get the same consideration. It's just not going to happen. To which I say, good riddance to the Eisners. Now, I'm an old guy, but I'm not a salty curmudgeon. Maybe not so old, but depending on whether or not you ask my kids and the folks we know. But the reason I'm kind of okay with this, but I'm sad about it at the same time, is for two different reasons. But before we get into that, I mean, Comical Opinions exists because we wanted to be part of that ecosystem. We are comic reviews, even though they're by nature opinion pieces, are effectively a subset of comics journalism. But for us to do reviews that people read and that they like and that they trust, and that's the key word, trust, we have to maintain a certain level of objective distance between us and the publishers and us and the creators. That's what journalism is about. It's telling the tale while maintaining that clinical objective distance between the writer and the object of whatever article that it is they're writing, whether it's an opinion piece and you're reporting on something, a press release, whatever it happens to be. So the reason I'm sort of okay but not okay with this, again, twofold, is, first of all, the Eisners have to take into account that a lot of comics journalism sites are different. The sites that are focused on reviews is different than sites that are focused on news, versus sites that focused on interviews, versus sites that focus on press releases and just kind of keeping up what's going on with the industry. It's very difficult to compare apples and oranges, which is what that would try to do. And so I understand why they might want to do that. But the second part of that is why I think this is probably a good thing, but not for great reasons, is because, to be blunt, the state of modern comics journalism is trash. It's just garbage. That's a very hyperbolic way to say it. It's not very kind, but from my point of view, it's the truth. And let's talk about that a little bit. I've lost count of the number of times where you've seen creators say reprehensible things online, or in person do reprehensible things in person at Comic-Cons, at party events where alcohol is involved, and all kinds of scenarios. But when you get that creator has not done anything of substance that is praiseworthy when they're creating their comics, be it art or writing. And yet when they get in front of some of these comics journalism sites, they get puff pieces, softball questions. They're not challenged in any way about the behavior or the quality of their content. They're just given basically cheerleading types of interviews, which is not a good thing. That is not how comics journalism maintains trust with the readers. It's not how you maintain an objective distance. If something wacky or funky or inappropriate is going on, comics journalists should be digging into that, not to do salacious reporting like some kind of tabloid publication, but just to get to the heart of what's true. As far as if there's a conflict within among creators, if there's a conflict within a publisher, journalism is supposed to root that out and bring it to the public attention because it matters, especially when you're thinking about doing business with those publishers. Second, I've lost count also of the number of times we've had opinion pieces from both from publishers and from guest op-eds where they say things like comics are raining money or comics are better than ever. And if you read the op-ed in the link down below in the description, I'll have screen caps in there where this, I'm not just being hyperbolic as far as saying, well, somebody said online and I heard it indirectly. No, I have screen captures from actual publications from some of these established, quote unquote, recognized sites where they're saying these comments. And that's ridiculous. If we're talking about the state of comics right now in the industry, and I'm talking about the big two and the smaller and mid-sized publishers that follow them within North America primarily, talking about Western periodical comics, they're not raining money. They're not better than ever. It is patently obvious. And for respected, lauded news, comics journalism news sites to continue to push that narrative is ridiculous. And that's what erodes trust. That's where you kind of look at it from the outside and say, you have no objectivity. And you ask yourself, why are they doing these things? Well, first, to get nominated by the Eisners, half the time you have to be buddies with the folks that are on the nomination committee. Anybody can submit for an Eisner. Anybody can submit anything for an Eisner in any particular category. There's no law that says you can't do that. But to be picked up as a nominee and then consequently to be given the award, I hate to say it that way, but yeah, it goes a very long way if you're buddies with the folks on the nomination committee. So right there between the Eisner Award folks and the journalistic folks, there's a loss of objectivity because you have to be friends with them to really get that recognition that you're looking for. Second, if you're giving publishers puff pieces, if you're giving the creators puff pieces, and if you're just spouting whatever the publisher tells you to spout because either you want to make sure that you're getting your comps or you're getting insider scoops, or if in some cases, worst case, in my opinion, the worst case scenario, the publisher is paying for ad space on your site, then any trust or objectivity is just eroded. It's just gone. And that's not how you do comics journalism. You can't be objective and factual and honest and present that information to the reading public while you're in deep with the publishers, accepting money from them, accepting favors from them, accepting, I should say, back scratching mutually beneficial uh, perks from them. It just doesn't work that way. Comics journalism, you have to maintain distance, you have to be clinical, you have to be separated. And so when the Eisners come along and say, well, we can't compare all the comics journalism sites against each other because it's apples and oranges, and against other things that are going on in the comics industry because it's apples and bananas, I get that. But at the same time, also, the current state of comics journalism is terrible. There is no authenticity, there's no honesty, there's no objectivity, there's no trust between the comics journalists and the readers, with a few exceptions, of course, present company and Comical Opinions, Weird Science, the folks that we deal with. We're small, we're growing, but still it's not enough to drown out the noise of the bigger sites who have been around for a very long time but have at the same time lost everything that makes them what a comics journalism site should be. So will comics journalism ever come back as a category for the Eisners, and will they ever be worthy of that trust and respect? Maybe. There's some work that needs to be done. There's things that could be done possibly if I'm brainstorming and just thinking out loud. Possibly one way we could do it is to get comics reviewers and journalists and folks that are part of that ecosystem to kind of band together and hold each other accountable. It's not a union. I'm not talking about unions. There's a place for unions. That isn't it. I'm talking about some kind of collective accountability and responsibility to each other to say, hey, if you're going to report on something, report on it accurately. And that's not accurate. And then to call each other into account. I don't know what that organization or what that collective would look like, but that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to find some way to start rating 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 comics journalism news sites. They do it all the time with the major kind of geopolitical or just mainstream news sites like CNN, Fox, MSNBC, and all those sites. There are services out there that rate those. Maybe we need to apply that to comics journalism websites. That's gonna weed out a lot of the wheat from the chaff, but maybe that's where we need to go. So I don't know. It's just not in a good state. The modern state of comics journalism is trash, and so I say good riddance to the Eisners, because honestly, comics journalism doesn't deserve to be awarded by the Eisners. It doesn't deserve praise, and there's a long way to go and a lot of work needs to be done to gain that worth of recognition back. So, what do you think? Are you okay with the modern state of comics journalism, or do you think it's also trash as well, or it's something in between? Leave a comment down below. Please let me know what you think, and let's move on to the next part of the newsletter. Yep, on the Making a Comic series that we're developing, we have completed the template on the pitch document, and we're halfway through writing the pitch document for Silver Streak #1. So if you want to be notified about when the next episode comes out, we kind of show that off. And it will also include a link where you can get a copy of the pitch document template for free. Subscribe to the newsletter. It's completely free, and you'll be notified as soon as it comes out. So let's move on to the reviews for last week and the week coming up. I won't go through all the reviews that we've already written. You can go to the website, please do, and let us know what you think, which is your favorite comic of the ones we reviewed last week. For last week, for us, our pick of the week, Cobra Commander #1. Very surprising. Joshua Williamson has had a lot of troubles at DC. He has not done a good job, in my opinion. But on Cobra Commander #1, he's knocked it out of the park. I suspect a lot of that has to do with Robert Kirkman and oversight from Skybound. They're not going to let a comic go out the door on the Hasbro license that isn't up to snuff. So I suspect Williamson does better when he has oversight that is determined to make sure that the quality is up to snuff. So there might be something to it there, a lesson that DC can learn, especially with Williamson. So coming up for next week, we have Big Bang Adventures #23 and The National Guardians #3, both indie submissions, both from Big Bang Comics, because they gave us a big pile of stuff to review. We have Blade Runner 2039 #9 from Titan, Red Sonja Volume 7 #7 from Dynamite, Van Helsing Vampire Hunter #1 from Zenescope, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers #16 from Boom, Spawn #349 from Image, Universal Monsters Dracula #4 from Image, and I believe that ends that miniseries, and it's been a great one so far. We have Starfinder Angels of the Void #5 from Dynamite. That's based on the tabletop RPG. Grim Fairy Tales Annual The Last Dream and Grim Fairy Tales Volume 2 #79, both from Zenescope. Dead Detective #3 from Black Box. Skeeters #2 from Mad Cave. Captain Laserhawk, A Blood Dragon, that's from Tokyo Pop, so that's a graphic novel, so it will do it later in the week because it is a bigger one to get through. We have Disney Villains Hades #5 and Gargoyles Dark Ages #5, both Disney titles under Dynamite. We have Distemper #2 from Blood Moon and Midnight Western Theater Witch Trial #5. That ends that prequel series from Scout. And that's been a good one so far as well. So that is it for this week. I am Gabriel Hernandez, your publisher in EIC for ComicalOpinions.com. Thank you for joining. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. You have a great day. Stay safe in the cold weather, and we will talk to you next week.